Commissioner Charles.
Present. Present. Present.
Commissioner Gershenson. Commissioner Gingell. Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Joliet.
Here.
Commissioner Kokendorfer.
Here.
Commissioner Kowal. Commissioner Kuhn. Commissioner Long.
Here.
Commissioner Lubes.
Here.
Commissioner Markham. Commissioner McGillivray.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Moss.
Here.
Commissioner Nelson. Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Spiz.
Present.
Commissioner Weipert.
Here.
Commissioner Woodward.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The invocation for tonight's meeting will be led by the Honorable Christine Long, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner.
Good evening, everyone. If you can bow your heads, please. Prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of the community. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next up, we got approval of the minutes, the July 19th minutes. Is there a motion? Moved by Commissioner McGillivray, seconded by Commissioner Lubes. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that the minutes are adopted unanimously. That brings us to approval of the agenda. Moved by Commissioner McGillivray, seconded by Commissioner Joliet. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The record reflect that the approval of the agenda was passed unanimously. And that will bring us to communications. We're very fortunate this evening on a regular basis. We get visitors from our friends from the Detroit Institute of Arts. And today is a revisit to give updates of what's happening at the museum as an institution that Oakland County, as well as Macomb and Wayne County continue to support. I want to call up Salvador Pons to come up and introduce his team. I don't know, do you want to bring up the whole team or you want to? Okay. Okay, absolutely, please. All right. Welcome. So if everyone can give the attention and if staff can make certain that the presentation is up. This is an opportunity to see all the great work that's happening, not only in Oakland County, but around the area, and build on this incredible partnership that we have that has really brought the DIA from inside a building off of Woodward to, really into our communities and into our hearts and homes all across Oakland County. So, Salvador, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Chair Woodward. It's an honor for us to be here reporting on the work of the museum. We are very interested in making sure that you know everything that we're doing for the residents of Oakland County with the most transparency possible. I have today here a number of my team members. Julie McFarland is going to do a review of the recent work that we've done. Judith Dolkar, the Deputy Director, will speak about upcoming exhibitions with the most amazing Van Gogh show that we are opening on October 2nd. And I also have here, of course, the Chair of the Arts Authority, Thomas Guastello, with whom we've been working with his team so closely to make sure that our services to the residents of Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb County are of best possible that they can be. I also like to introduce today our new Vice President for Learning and Audience Engagement, Anthony Smith, who is here with me, and I'm so excited that he's going to be leading our education work at the DIA. This means all the schools, all the seniors, the wonderful things that the museum does for the residents of Oakland County. I'd like Anthony to say a couple of words to the commission. Please, Anthony.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Salvador. I just wanted to say very briefly, thank you. I'm excited to be a part of this amazing team at the DIA, and even more excited to bring to you our arts education programs and our community programs to the residents of Oakland County. And if I can be of any assistance in the work that we're doing with the schools and in the community, please let me know. I'm here for you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you. Welcome to the team. And with that, I would like our Executive Director of Public Affairs and Community Engagement, Julie McFarland, to give our report.
Thank you, Salvador, and thank you for giving us time on the agenda tonight. We appreciate this opportunity to come and share everything that's happening in the museum and the many ways that we bring DIA experiences to the community. In this brief presentation, I'm going to walk through the 4 categories of services that the DIA provides to Oakland County residents. And then Judith Dolkart, our Deputy Director of Art, Education, and Programs, will highlight some of the special exhibitions on view and upcoming at the museum. So this slide just provides the structure of benefits for Oakland County residents through the millage service agreement. Participation and investment goals are detailed to help us measure our engagement on a yearly basis. Benefits and programs fall into the categories of free admission, school programs, senior programs, and community partnership programs. So in this short presentation, I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on each of these. So the first category is free admission. As Oakland County residents, residents are entitled to free, unlimited general admission to the museum. We continue to see increasing admissions as residents become more comfortable getting out and about and as recover from the pandemic. For the convenience of residents, we continue to take free reservations for admission, and we also serve residents on a walk-up basis. Friday Night Live is now held 2 Fridays a month in the auditorium, and activities like drop-in art making in our studio and drawing in the galleries have resumed and are happening weekly as well. Moving on to the school program, the DIA provides free field trips for K through 12 students, and that includes the cost of bus transportation. It also includes a guided tour of the museum. When making a field trip reservation, teachers can select from a variety of topics, tour topics that connect directly to classroom learning, making their students' their time at the museum extend far beyond that visit. A little silver lining of the pandemic is that it helped us expand our school program by adding virtual tour options for use right in the classroom. The same tour options available for an in-museum tour are provided in an online platform with DIA gallery teachers interacting with students live. This has really helped us to reach out to schools that are further away from the museum and to develop relationships with these teachers. In the first half of 2022, we did 43 virtual tours and 86 tours in the museum, serving almost 6,000 Oakland County K through 12 students. We also host several educator events. These events help teachers learn more about the DIA as a partner resource, and it helps to extend the field trip experience into their classrooms. Private workshops on a number of topics are available as well and can be customized to support specific learning outcomes desired by a school or a school district. Again, as the pandemic eases, we're seeing reservations for field trips increase again, and we're excited to see our galleries full of students again. So the third area of the service agreement is our senior program. So we welcomed senior group trips back to the museum last fall. Groups can make a reservation for a docent guided visit, and we provide free transportation for groups of 25 or more. We had 28 group trips to the museum in the first half of 22. Groups from South Lyon, Birmingham, Bloomfield Township, Commerce, Farmington Hills, Lake Orion, Madison Heights, Pontiac, Oak Park, Rochester, Troy, Waterford, Novi. If you didn't hear your community's name, we need to talk. We continue to offer behind-the-scenes art talks at community locations with over a dozen topics to choose from. And again, the pandemic spurred the creation of virtual engagement for our seniors, like our Thursdays at the Museum program. So every Thursday at 1 p.m., this online program provides music, films, studio visits, art talks, and it helps to bring the DIA right into the homes of our seniors in Oakland County. Finally, a little bit about community partnership programs in Oakland County. We're in our 13th year of bringing reproduction of artwork in the collection to Oakland County through our Inside Out program. This is the list of communities that you can see a little bit of the DIA in those communities right now. We're all over communities, parks, and on every Oakland Community College campus this summer. The summer is full of activity as our partners activate their installations through bike and walking tours and community visits to the museum to see the real versions of their artwork installed in their neighborhoods. The application for summer of 2023 has just closed, so we're looking forward to connecting with a whole new roster of communities next year. So Inside Out is really just one example of how the DIA co-creates community programs in Oakland County. Other projects include the Studio Group program. This program engages residents through partnerships with social service agencies. We also host a yearly author talk as part of the Jewish Community Center's annual book fair. And every year, the DIA provides a full roster of community partnership programs like these in and out of the museum. We also work with Arts Beats and Eats to program the kids stage with the kind of family programming that's also available at the museum, and hope this exposure will help to entice residents to use their free admission to the DIA to see the same kind of family programming at the museum as well. So that is the basic outline of free admission, school, senior, and community partnership program benefits for Oakland County residents. Please help us spread the word to your friends, families, coworkers, neighborhood recreation centers, senior centers, schools. Our group reservations department is ready to make arrangements for your school communities' field trips for your senior groups to come to the museum. And don't hesitate to reach directly out to me, Salvador, Tony, Judith, or our Art Authority Chair, Tom Guastello, if you have any questions or ideas about how we can make more art, more relevant and available to your residents. So that being said, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Judith Dolkart, Deputy Director for Art Education Programs, to go over some of our exhibitions.
Thank you, Julie. Let's see. Whoops, backwards. Okay, so right now we have on view an exhibition called Conscious Response, Photographers Changing the Way We See. This show opened just a few weeks ago, and it will run until January 8th. This is an exhibition that really explores the way contemporary photographers look through the lens and capture what they see every day. The work includes black and white photography, color photography, and a number of these works are brand new acquisitions to the collection, many of which are by photographers from right here in Southeast Michigan. So it's really exciting to see familiar landmarks among them, perhaps even people you know in some of these photographs. It's a really lively and colorful show, so I hope you'll come and see that. And then in anticipation of our great Van Gogh show that is opening in October, we have up right now Van Gogh's Artistic Roots, the Hague School in French Realism. This gives visitors a little bit of an insight into the kinds of works that Van Gogh himself was looking at and that would have influenced him in terms of subject matter, palette, and other things. The Hague School was a group of Dutch painters who were working around 1870, and Van Gogh got to know some of them personally, including Anton Mauve and Joseph Israels, and then also French artists like Léon Lhermitte, here, The Harvest from 1886, and Millet, another artist. There are about 12 works in this show, all drawn from the collection. Many of them are works on paper, so they'll be on rotation through the exhibition. Come more than once, because you'll see different works each time. And we're really excited to give you a flavor of what Van Gogh was looking at before we get to the extravaganza of the fall. And that is Van Gogh in America, fewer than 60 days away. Very exciting. This show, you may remember, was going to open in the summer of 2020, but the pandemic foiled our plans. However, it gave us an opportunity to make the show even better than what we anticipated. The show now will celebrate the 100th anniversary of the museum's acquisition of Van Gogh's self-portrait, the first to enter an American public collection. Very exciting, Detroit leading the way. In this time, in the 2 years since the show was supposed to open, Salvador and Jill Shaw, the curator of the show, and we have been blazing up the phone lines, trying to get even more pictures for the show. So there were going to be 60, 65, now there will be 70 Van Goghs under one roof. That is an amazing sight to behold. And the show tells the very particular story of how Detroit, again, led the way in creating an American taste for Van Gogh, and looks at other Midwestern museums that followed, and how Van Gogh became a household name in America. So it promises to be exceptional. What you see on the screen is a version of Van Gogh's Starry Night, this one from the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. It's coming. This show is going to be spectacular. I'm even just getting like little goosebumps talking about it, because we've been working on it for so long, and we want to make sure this is a really special experience for all visitors. We've been meeting weekly to talk about it, to prepare. Julie and I stand by also to take questions about it if you have any, so please do be in touch with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. Thank you, Julie, and I'd like to open the floor for any questions with the permission of our chair.
Sure,
Woodward.
absolutely. The commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Long.
Yes, it's probably maybe for Julie. How do you market the K through 12 and the senior programs? I mean, we could put it on our Facebook, but you guys do some marketing around Oakland County.
Why don't you start?
Okay. So, the senior program, we have a very big list of senior centers and senior living centers, senior rec centers in the Tri-County. So we do a lot of just one-on-one, reaching out to them, helping them book their trips, letting them know when we have something special going on in the museum. So I think the senior program is primarily marketed that way. We do some postcard mailings too. I think we do about 4 of those a year, and we've really, in the last couple years, we've really focused the postcard mailings on creating awareness around the virtual program. We'll now pivot that and start promoting the in-person program again now that we're back in the museum. And I think Judith probably can speak a little bit more fully to how we promote the K through 12.
So we want to see the museum filled with students, and happily that has been the case. And since October of 2021, schools have been coming back, which has been exciting for us. We work with schools in a variety of ways. We, first of all, contact teachers through a newsletter that we have called Edu News. And if you know a teacher, ask them if they're on our mailing list. We're happy to put them on. I'm happy to receive those names, put them on the list. We also work directly in speaking with superintendents, curriculum directors. One of the ways that students typically come is because their teacher books the trip. And so we are also eager to get as many teachers participating in our teacher professional development so that they know how to navigate the museum, the kinds of tours they would like to participate in, also tools that they can use that we can send to the classroom, which we would be delighted to do. That includes curricular activities, materials related to specific collections, books, a wide variety of materials. You know, we want the kids to come every year if they can, but we also want to give to teachers something that they can use every single day in the classroom.
Thank you.
Any other question? Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say I appreciate you guys pushing for this, for the comebacks. I know how rare it is for it to come around. So we lost it in 2020 because of the pandemic, but I'm a huge Van Gogh fan. That was my first introduction to art, and then went into MC Escher, Salvador Dali, right? So this is actually really inspirational for me, and I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. We're so proud to bring it here, and I know it's going to be very, very well received in the community. And it's very fitting because we were the first ones, as Judith was mentioning, to buy a painting by Van Gogh. So we have the responsibility to tell the story of collecting Van Goghs in America.
Yeah.
100 years, let's do it. And it's going to be all over the press in the world. So we're very happy.
It was meant to be that we missed it because 100 years coming up, right?
More poetic.
That's right.
Are there, Commissioner Charles?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I was curious about, I'm a big fan of Inside Out. We had that at Southfield Public Schools some years ago, and community members were in an uproar. You know, what's all this stuff on our sidewalks and buildings? But, you know, they requested it back and year after year after year. So my question is about other communities. It says 2022 locations. Is there a gateway to include other communities?
So it's a very popular program. So we put an application out every year. The application for summer of 2023 closed, I think, about a week ago. So I have a whole new roster of interested communities. What we do is we try to, you know, if a community's had it within 3 years, we put them on hold and we tee them up for the next year. So it's basically most communities that are eligible, if they haven't had it in 3 years, typically we're able to say yes. So these, the communities that you saw on the slide, they all applied last summer. We'll have a new roster coming up for 2023.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I mean, again, just for folks in the audience and anyone watching at home, that, I mean, all of these things, I mean, the exhibits, the dollars and the voters approved to support the DIA, but also built in a partnership agreement through the leadership of Tom and the Art Authority to make certain that we're bringing the museum out, and in the communities, the community support, the education, the tours. It is a model that I know that your competitor, well, not competitor, your peers, I guess, around the world are genuinely envious of, because it is a regular part of their daily lives, and we are so glad to have this partnership. I think it's a model in how art institutions and institutions, any way that have public support, work together to really enhance the quality of life in our community. So thank you all for everything that you do, and encourage everyone to check out the DIA. All right, a round of applause for our...
Thank you so much.
See everyone at the Van Gogh. All right. Next up, I think we have one communication, or do we have a couple others? Some other communications I'll ask the clerk to read.
Dated August 4th, 2022, to the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. Please accept this letter as notification that I have exercised the authority granted to the chairperson of the board to approve grant applications in excess of $50,000 for the purposes of meeting a submission deadline. Due to the grantor deadlines and the board's grant submission process and calendar, it is not possible to submit the application for full board consideration in accordance with our normal procedures. I have authorized the submission of the following grant applications. Number one, the 2022-2023 Child Nutrition Programs Coordinated Application for the Children's Village in the amount of $180,000. The grant application deadline was June 30th, 2022. Number 2, fiscal year 2022 Anti-Terrorism Emergency Assistance Grant for the prosecuting attorney in the amount of $175,000. The grant application deadline was July 22nd, 2022. Number 3, fiscal year 2023 Victims' Rights Grant for the prosecuting attorney in the amount of $799,521. The grant application deadline was August 1st, 2022. And finally, number 4, the fiscal year 2023 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program for the Sheriff's Office in the amount of $521,648. The grant application deadline was July 29th, 2022. This application was considered with an affirmative vote by the Public Health and Safety and Finance Committees. Sincerely, David T. Woodward, Chairman, Oakland County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you very much. A motion to receive and file those communications moved by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Long. Any discussion? This was a few more than usual. The deadline just kind of worked out in such a way. We try to make every attempt to have these things go through our committee process, and when they did, even if the deadline for the board to approve these applications, but no one wants to leave resources on the table that feeds kids, protects victims, and keeps our community safe. So without any discussion, all in favor of approving and receiving a file of these communications, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that these applications the grant exceptions are adopted unanimously. This next, moves us to public comment. This is the first public comment of tonight's meeting. I expect the meeting to be fairly short, so the second public comment will probably come pretty quickly. This is an opportunity to speak on items on the agenda. We just ask that if you're speaking about things that are not on today's agenda, if you could wait for the second public comment so that we can get through the business and then get to that second public comment. So I'm going to take people who signed up here and those who, so if you signed up to speak on something that's not on the agenda, I just ask you to pass, and I will put you first on the list for the second public comment. Again, I don't expect our meeting to be very long this evening. I'm going to call first on Larry, is it Giroy?
I'm sorry, I signed up on the wrong list.
Second, okay, that's right, you're first on the list. Diane Ashib Schneider? Okay, perfect. Mr. Don Green?
Same thing.
Second, okay. Connie Johnson?
Were you going to allow comment on the addition that you made in the caucus?
What addition? If you came here to talk about transit, second public comment.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kim?
Same thing.
Same thing, okay. Anybody to speak on the items on the agenda?
Hello, my name is Chris Meister. I'm in Royal Oak, and I'd like to speak on item 11A regarding the grant for the election security. And in all the controversies surrounding the 2020 election, it seems that there is general consensus that there was ample fraud in the system of the Michigan electoral process. The only question is how widespread it is and what does it affect? But obviously there are problems. Claims that the election was the most secure and transparent in the state's history are laughable. And in an era where definitions of words such as recession and woman have been twisted into the point of being meaningless, I am very fearful of what the phrase election security means in Lansing these days. The security of our elections is core to our system of government, but it seems that the meaning of security has been twisted into equating to voter suppression somehow. Adult minds need to find the right balance between meaningful security and convenience. In considering this grant this evening, I urge the Commission to consider the source and take a very close look at the strings attached to the grant. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Let's speak about the segment.
Welcome. Hello, Catherine Kennedy from Lake Orion. I appreciate the DIA, but I'm a little puzzled why we still are paying taxes for it. That was supposed to be a temporary property tax. And the last report I saw appeared to have 44 million in the bank. And the spending from March 21 to 22, almost all of it was on either legal or accounting. So I'm really puzzled as to why we would continue to fund that through our taxes. I also have a little puzzled, the item 11B, this was actually listed as 11B on the consent agenda on July 19th as well, and I thought it was approved unless something's modified on that clerk register of deeds resolution opposing Michigan House Bills 4729 through 4732, because it seems to be on again this month. So, and I hope that you have a process to ensure that the HUD money that is given from the federal government, that the Federal Register at least indicates requires citizenship as a prerequisite, that we have some way to verify our sub-grantees are following those rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Anybody else? We've got getting some feedback. Mute yourself. Or not? Okay. Nope, nobody else? Oh, I thought someone was coming to the mic. All right, seeing nobody else for the first public comment, I will close public comment, and the people who signed up will start there, and if other people want to sign up, we will add people to that. I'll bring it back to this side. It brings us to reports of standing committees. First up, we have the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner Gingell, seconded by Commissioner Powell. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please prompt the vote. Try to suck the mic. Nope.
Mr. Chair, you have 18 yeas, 1 nay.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The consent agenda is adopted. It moves us to our regular agenda, and there's nothing under economic development and infrastructure. And I will call on finance, and I will recognize the Vice Chair of Finance, Commissioner Charlie Cavell.
Okay, good evening, Chair. I have from the...
Speak loudly into the mic. We'll just talk over it. Moved by Commissioner Cavell, seconded by Commissioner Hoffman. Was there any discussion on the confirmation of our new equalization director? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The report and confirmation is adopted. And I believe that concluded all the business before the Finance Committee. Everything else was taken up under the consent agenda. That moves us to Legislative Affairs and Government Operations. There's no business under Public Health and Safety. That'll bring us to reports of special committees. There's none. Special order business, none. Unfinished business, none. That'll move us to new and miscellaneous business. I believe that there are some resolutions for introduction, and so I will sure, 1 second here. I'm going to hand the gavel over to Commissioner Gershenson, and I'm going to introduce a resolution approving language for an Oakland County public transportation millage to appear on the November 8th, 2022 ballot, and refer that to Lago.
Without exception, referral to the Lago Committee.
Hand it back. Yes, Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a miscellaneous resolution opposing the Biden administration's policies on addressing the human trafficking crisis at the southern border. Ask to have it referred to Lago, please.
Referred without objection. And then I'm calling Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got one resolution, miscellaneous resolution appropriating American Rescue Plan Act local fiscal recovery funds to support Oakland Together senior initiatives. And I'd like to refer it to the Public Health and Safety Committee.
Referred without objection. I think that's all the three resolutions, right? Yep, that were being introduced. Will move us to announcements. Is there any announcements? One announcement that I want to make is that among our number one responsibilities, I guess, is budget hearings are going to be starting next week. And so if commissioners who are not on finance want to participate, you can watch it online or reach out to leadership to make sure your questions, if you have for any departments, all the departments are going to be coming through. And so I want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. Next up, Commissioner Powell.
I have two announcements. One is the Water Resource Commissioner, Jim Nash, is hosting a Pontiac Town Hall meeting in regards to water affordability on Thursday, August 11th, 7 p.m. at Pontiac City Hall, which is at 47450 Woodward Avenue, Pontiac, Michigan 48342. So that is basically going to be a discussion regarding water affordability with community leaders and partnerships with organizations and community leaders to discuss this with the community and let them know of the options we have created for them under this water affordability plan. And then my second announcement is that on next Wednesday, August 10th, from 6 to 8, my councilman, Michael Goodman, councilman of District 3 from the city of Pontiac, is hosting a transit town hall, and it's going to be at Crowford Ballroom, which is downtown Pontiac, from 6 to 8. The address is 1 South Saginaw Street, Pontiac, Michigan 48342. And also our chair, David Woodward, is one of the speakers as well. And this event was sponsored by Oakland 4, Oakland County Organizing Collaborative, and Transit Riders United. If you have any questions in regards to the Transit Town Hall, you can contact City Hall at 248-758-3300. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Long.
Yes, Chairman Woodward. Can we possibly get a couple copies of the Oakland County Public Transportation Millage Resolution and the actual ballot question, just for the supervisors that came? Is there extra copies?
Yeah. Yes,
Or
absolutely.
any community leaders so they can see it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. It should, if people refresh the agenda, it's online too. But I will ask staff, who I know is listening, if you can make a couple copies as introduced. Commissioner Charles, and then Commissioner Miller, and then Commissioner Gingell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On Oakland County International Airport's open house and air show, which will feature for the first time an all-women's skydiving team, is happening, I just had the date, August 14th, thank you. And there'll be parking and admission, which is free. World War II aircraft and military vehicles will be on display. The part that really got me excited is that there'll be aircraft and helicopter rides available for a nominal fee of $45 per person. So if you're interested, go to oakgov.com/aviation for more. That's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to invite through Todd Lippa he works for CARES. They service over 500 families. 60% of them come from Oakland County. He would like to invite the commissioners for a tour, so get with me if anybody's interested, and we'll get a date locked in. and give a tour of that and what they provide.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Commissioner Gingell.
I just want to make a comment on the transportation resolution and the ballot language question for the public to understand that that's what's being introduced. It's likely to be revised, refined, further defined, and be made more specific. So it very likely will change and be different from what is out there today to what comes to committee to what may actually be on the ballot language. So if you read something, understand that this is part of the process and that what is before you today may or may not, highly likely will not be the final form of what goes forward.
Great point. Any other announcements? Commissioner Gershenson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to remind commissioners of the invitation from the Chaldean community to visit their museum. It will be Monday, August 15th. So I haven't given the final numbers. If anybody wants to add on, just let me know. And if you can't make it, just let me know too. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think that covers everything. Okay, that will now bring us to the second public comment. I'm going to start with the people who came to speak, and I'll start with Larry Gilroy. Is it Gil? Yeah. Welcome, sir.
It's Larry Gray. I apologize.
Oh, it's Gray. I'm sorry.
I should have been a doctor.
Yeah.
Larry Gray, Commerce Township Supervisor, here to speak about the public transportation millage that you're looking to put on. I'm speaking on behalf of our board that we are not in favor of this. We would like to, currently right now we provide our residents transportation at zero taxpayer dollars. We have our costs at about $140,000. We are taking seniors to medical appointments. We are taking people shopping. We are taking people to work. We have a well-working system in Commerce Township, and we do not see the benefit of expanding or our tax folks paying taxes for a system that will not work in a semi-rural area. I don't know if many of you are from Commerce or come out to Commerce, but does anybody know where Commerce and Commerce is? No? Well, okay. But as you go out there, it's a very difficult area for a mass transit system. So the system we currently have, we pick up residents right from home, take them directly where they need to go, pick them up and bring them right back home, and they're not, we can take them out to any surrounding hospitals, any surrounding areas for what they need. I guess the one question I have, and I run meetings, so you probably won't answer this question, but what's your plan? I see that we're going to raise our tax dollars, but where's the plan at? We're going to start collecting money in December. Where's your plan? I mean, if you come to a plan, then yeah, maybe we can talk about it and make something work that works for everybody. As well as we move forward on this, are we going to have the option to opt out? Or are you going to force us down everybody's tax base? So that's something that I think you guys should think about as well. The other question is when we have this millage, I see we're putting it at potentially 0.95, but what are we going to do for the dollars when the housing market goes down? Are we going to raise that millage? Is that going to be part of it? Because we all know that sooner or later, this market's going to take a hit, just like it did back in previous times. That's all I got to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Diane Scheib-Snyder. Welcome.
I'd like to speak about the resolution approving the language for the Oakland County Public Transportation Millage to appear on the November 8th, 2022 ballot. I'm Diane Scheib-Snyder. I am the Rose Township Supervisor, and I'm concerned because we don't have any millage for transportation in our township. We're very rural. We have a really low population. We have large parcels spread out, and I would like to see on this ballot language option for the Rose Township residents to be able to opt out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Supervisor Don Green.
I'm Don Green. I'm the Milford Township Supervisor for over 25 years. I live in Milford. According to the 0.95 mills, you're going to collect $1 million from Milford Township. And I run my system for 100,000. Where's the other 900,000 going? You don't have an opt-out clause in there. We opted out years ago because we're very rural, and he didn't even know where the streets were, just like was mentioned. And it's still the same way. And the ballot language doesn't match the resolution language. Here, the last part is get employees to jobs, patients to health care, and students to college. On the other one, it said, on the resolution, it says general public. Now, if I wasn't a senior, I'm 73, and I was 52, I want to go to Kroger's. I'm general public. I'm not going to school. I'm not going to work. You got to change some of the language.
Thank you, sir. Connie Johnson.
Connie Johnson, Milford Township. I'd like to echo what Don just said. Being part of a rural community, that there is no mass transit, as SMART is indicating that it wants to expand and revolutionize, doesn't make sense for our rural areas. This is part of a plan to urbanize our rural communities. You can't take an urban plan that was meant for dense populations and retrofit it to a non-urban, suburban, or rural area. It doesn't make sense. It will never make financial or fiscal sense either. You're never going to be able to keep up with the amount of revenue that you're going to have to tax us for in order to pay these millages. It doesn't make any sense. Not to mention, when you introduced it, currently we don't have a active contract with the Oakland County Public Transportation Authority. It's expired June 22nd. Where is that at? Where's the transparency with all the discussions that have gone on for the last several months? And why hasn't any of this been introduced into the public up until this point, as far as the language goes? Why is it being ramrodded through in the next week? And why was it introduced in caucus instead of just being brought up? You're bringing it up in caucus. It makes it a partisan issue too. Just introducing in the Democratic caucus instead of just bringing it up and onto the regular. Also, the last question that I have, more than comment, is if this millage goes into effect, how is it going to be kept in just Oakland County? Because we know we pay for a lot of things in other communities, Macomb and Wayne counties. So there's just a lot that needs to be figured out. This is not a good idea. You're not going to be able to serve my community with your plan and your agenda. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Kim Wiener?
I'm Kim Viner. I run Western Oakland Transportation Authority. This plan, whether it will work or fail, you really need to get out there and you need to talk to us. You need to talk to NODA, you need to talk to WODA, you need to talk to OPC. You need to talk to somebody other than SMART, because SMART doesn't handle rural. And in case any of you have forgotten, 1/3 of your county is rural. So let's all take a little trip out there and see what it's like to run transportation out there. Because what you're proposing with this 0.25 of a 0.95 mil to come back to us, that's not going to do anything for us. That's not going to be able to expand on what we currently have. It's not even going to repair what we currently have provided from SMART. We are making things meet on very little money, and it works. We don't need a 1 mil millage to make what currently works work. But what you need to do is you need to come out and you need to talk to us, and you need to find out what we really do need and what it's going to cost. Because I can tell you right now, it costs $100,000 to run one connector bus or one commuter, one of our community buses, the 23-footers that'll hold 14 people, $100,000 a year to run it for 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. And that's what we do. That's what we run. We run 14 buses a day. So this millage, I won't recommend anybody vote for it out in our area. We can make ends meet with what we have. And until something's going to come out that's going to actually listen to us and support us, no. You guys need to go back to the drawing board, and you need to not try to push this through in the next couple of days. You need to put some actual thought into it, and you need to do your research.
Thank you. Next up, I have Angelina Manor.
Hello, my name is Angelina Maher from Troy. I'm a student at Wayne State University, and I'm one of the many students and instructors who take the Woodward 461 bus every day from Troy to get to Wayne's campus. Smart service is limited, and I'm grateful that I'm able to use it. I talk to a lot of people who want to be able to commute using public transit like me and aren't able to because their cities don't have service. The opportunity I see in countywide funding is making a service I use every day better, and making it available and more accessible to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please refrain from public displays. We want to welcome everybody to come up here, and so I'm going to move on to Pat Hammer, followed by Ryan. Is it Drinkgrave or Dinkgrave? Pat Hammer first.
I don't think this is going to work. You can pull it
Well,
towards your, just angle.
Commissioner Cavell will assist there.
All right, thank you. I'm Pat Hammer. I'm a resident of Birmingham. I've been a transit advocate in Metro Detroit for a long time, it seems. But I grew up on Long Island, where there was any number of ways to get in town and around the city on public transportation. That variety and complexity has always been the model for me for an urban environment that is vibrant, more equitable, and sustainable, increasingly so now as we face climate change challenges. So from my perspective, the most exciting development around here in recent years has been the fast bus. We need more of it, along with expanded local bus routes and innovative transit services in development for the whole county, according to the needs of the diverse urban and rural areas in which we live. The opt-out system that Oakland County has operated under has been an impediment to forward progress. It has resulted in an inefficient patchwork of services, underfunded with limited tax base. My church sits on Woodward Avenue in Bloomfield Hills, an opt-out community. For decades, we have had members who would love to take the bus up Woodward Avenue to church, but can't get off the bus in Bloomfield Hills. We have another contingent of members in the Rochester area, transit supporters, who cannot vote in the smart millage. So in this little church community, we have the worst of both worlds. Residents of opt-in communities who can't get to where they want to go, opt-out community residents who want a say in the system. I think this scenario is not unusual in different contexts throughout the county. I strongly support a countywide ballot for the smart millage question if we are to see real progress in this area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, no pause. Ryan, followed by Thomas Yazbek.
Good evening. I'm Ryan Dingrave from Royal Oak. I've lived there for 15 years, and for about the same time, I've worked in Detroit area community-based nonprofits. And in those roles, I've seen the real impact that reliable transit can have, but also more often when it doesn't, when reliable transit isn't there. When it means that you can't get to job training, internships, or workforce agencies. And even if you can go out and get a job, but you can't get there reliably if you don't have access to a good car. Even if you do have a car, you may end up, depending on the shifts you work, driving dangerously. When I worked at a Focus Hope, we had 4 of our graduates die in an accident in the early morning on their way to work. You can't access fresh, nutrition-dense food. You can't enjoy arts and culture like the DIA. Personally, I love to travel to U.S. cities and see what their regional transit is like. I find it a great way to experience a place. And I often end up explaining why we don't have the same reach into our region with reliable, equitable transit, accessible transit. And I just fully support any effort to advance exactly that, equitable and accessible regional transit. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thomas, followed by Mike Rosevich.
Good evening, everybody. This mic is not. There we go. My name is Thomas Yazbek. I am a resident of Rochester Hills, Michigan. My community is a city. It is not a township. It stopped being Avon Township 40 years ago. In that time, the population has grown by several tens of thousands. We're not a rural community anymore, but yet we don't have mass transit. When I go to a city and on vacation, it's usually I didn't bring my car with me. And frankly, I meet a lot of people who come here and they're surprised. Where are the bus stops? I know not everyone rides the bus. Most of the people in this room have never been on a smart bus, but that's okay because you know somebody, whether you actually know their name or not, who depends on it. And there are lots of people who are walking miles to get to jobs in places like Rochester Hills, Novi, Waterford, which are dense. They have many tens of thousands of residents. They are not rural in any way, shape, or form, and yet they do not have public transportation options that people that aren't seniors or disabled can use. It is not right that I, an able-bodied young person, cannot just get on a bus that comes by every half hour and go where I need to go. If I were to somehow get disabled, I could call the OPC. They could take me within a maybe 4-day reservation, and I could maybe get to somewhere within my 36 square mile township. But people's lives do not end at city boundaries. When I cross South Boulevard into Troy, I don't feel like I've suddenly been transferred into a portal to a new community. No, these communities in Oakland County have a lot in common with each other. I understand that rural communities may balk at the cost that may be imposed on them, but really this is, I mean, there are communities where there are malls, there are communities where there are factories, there are communities where there are large apartment buildings and people can't use public transit. That seems wild to me that we've gone 30 years with this scenario. I want my community to have public transit. I know it is possible to do this, and I applaud the county commission for allowing us to decide this. If voters don't want it, they can reject it. But I think almost 30 years when we haven't had the chance to even decide this in my community, I don't think that's right. There are people in my community who support it. There are people who don't. Give us a chance to vote on it just this once. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mike Rosevich? Yep. Followed by Alex Selsley. Welcome.
Good evening, commissioners. I've ridden buses in London. I've ridden buses in Ahmedabad, India, but they're very different in Oakland County. They have 10 times the population that we do. And I live in Farmington and I watch empty buses go up and down Grand River all the time. If you remember the movie The Shootist, the John Wayne movie with the traction bus going through back in the 1880s, buses are a 19th century solution and we're in the 21st century. This mill that you're looking at, for people that are retired on a fixed income, that own property, It's onerous. I can't understand why we're doing that. Tuk-tuks all over India get people from place to place, whether it's the hospital or their place of work or whatever. I think we should be taking a look at an entirely new solution, which is much more efficient, because I think this is horrendously wasteful. It's an archaic system, and we need to take a look at being able to serve folks. But one more thing. People should also be responsible for themselves. Remember the words of John Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And people need to start doing for themselves. My kids kicked around the dirty streets of the Middle East with a couple of empty guns on their backs in 120-degree weather in full battle dress. And the government paid their way through college, and they gave them money to live, and they had enough money for cars, too. That's only one solution. There's a lot of solutions, and kids got to start thinking about, how do I get around this? Instead of just saying, help me, government. And these people that have paid for their houses, let them pay more taxes. Sorry, my kids paid their own way through college, they bought their cars, and they worked for the government. There's other solutions out there, and we should be looking for other solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alex, followed by Jerry Riley.
Good evening. My name is Alex Selsley. I'm a resident of Hazel Park. Many people in Oakland County, including many of my neighbors, cannot afford a car or are unable to drive. I travel primarily by bus and bicycle. Luckily for me, that's by choice, but as I said, for many of my neighbors and people in my community, it is not. And making this choice has made me acutely aware of the challenges that these people face. Investing in transit and expanding coverage will allow those people to reach their jobs and their medical treatments. It will also allow them to reach places they may want to go that were previously inaccessible, such as the 8 cider mill. And it will do that without adding to traffic or increasing pollution as much as if they all drove. Expanded transit access will help Oakland County be more equitable by allowing the poor and disabled, who are members of the general public, to get to these places. It will have economic benefits by increasing the pool of potential customers and employees for businesses that were previously inaccessible. And it will help members of the general public who want to save on gas. I know gas prices have dropped a bit recently, but they're still pretty high. So instead of telling people that cannot drive or cannot afford a car to lace up their bootstraps, maybe we should pass the millage.
Thank you, sir. Jerry Riley, followed by Stephen James.
Hello, Jerry Riley from Waterford. Change of subject. I'd like to make a few comments regarding the statement about incumbent Republicans being challenged by a, quote, a batch of far-right extremists. I find it stunning at what has been the norm for hundreds of years is now far-right. If you think believing in the Bible, honest government, the Constitution, the right to life, liberty, and freedom is far-right, it causes me to wonder. The reason we may appear so far-right is because the left has gone so far left. If you think we're extreme, how about the left presenting legislation for pro-abortion all the way up to the time of birth, and even up to 28 days after birth, and then killing the baby? And we're extreme? If you think about extreme, how about unlawful president who in 1.5 years has brought this country to its knees and is aligning himself with the globalists, the New World Order, the World Economic Forum, which is a group of elitist international bankers, Luciferians that want world dominion. This group of people want to reduce the Earth population to 500 million people. Their plan, control agriculture. You control the food, you control the people. You call this extreme. Even this county has been aligned to this evil controlling group of elites. And we're extreme? How about an illegitimate, cognitively deficient president leading the formerly most powerful country in the world, or men who think they are women serving in cabinet positions, or individuals creating national policy who contend that men can be pregnant? Oh, the list could go on. and we're called extremists? I understand compromise in politics over certain things, but there are issues that definitely can't be compromised with. Remember our history. Only 1/3 of the colonists actually wanted to separate from the tyrannical king, and only 3% actually fought in the War of the American Revolution. It's amazing what God can do with a remnant. Even though some of the, quote, dream team did not win, a huge message was sent. There is a group of conservative, freedom-loving Americans that believe a godly, righteous government built on we the people and the Constitution can survive. And many are not happy the way the Republicans are going about this. I do just want to state again, God is raising up his righteous government. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Stephen James, followed by Chris Meister.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Awesome. So I just first want to say Oakland County has always been the greatest county. We never had the corruption Wayne and Macomb County have. And when people say this transit proposal is subsidizing Wayne County, that's 100% false. And it really infuriates me. Wayne has a completely separate transit authority with their own opt-in and opt-out policy, which they are keeping. And a countywide millage for Oakland has nothing to do with Wayne County or Macomb. None of the current opt-out communities even, and I'm talking about Novi, even connect with opt-in communities. And paratransit and opt-out is limited. And I'm talking about ones that are more urban. And they can only get so much funds, which can limit how many vehicles they have. The Republican chair of the Macomb County Commission said his rural community gets unlimited free maintenance and 9 free vehicles and same-day service and even service all the way to the airport for being part of SMART. The bottom line is this isn't wanting to send 40-foot buses to Oxford or Rose Township. This is improving the overall mobility of Oakland County. I mean, one thing I never understood, many Republicans say they are pro-business, but as a small business owner, I've seen the staffing shortage devastate small businesses, and more transit options are needed more than ever. I mean, when my friend Tommy said, I mean, people's lives should never end at city borders, and it's not time to change that.
Thank you, sir. Chris Meister, did you want to speak again, sir? Okay, all right. I've got more. Yeah, let me get through this list and anyone else who didn't sign up. I'm having a hard time reading. Is this Lucas? Liseski?
Hello there. Good evening, members of the Board of Commissioners. I'm Lucas Lisecki. I'm a kid from Farmington Hills who likes riding the bus. I've been a long-time transit enthusiast and a frequent SMART rider. I'm making the Route 740 just a little less empty as it barrels through Farmington Hills on 12 Mile. And I wanted to applaud Commissioner Woodward tonight for introducing this resolution to bring a countywide opt-in to the ballot. I'll be glad if this passes, and I'll have service to growing suburbs that are currently opted out of SMART, particularly Novi, because that's just down the road from me. If I want to get to 12 Oaks, which I've done this before by bus, I would have to take it to the Farmington Hills City line, get off, and walk 2.5 miles, a lot of which doesn't even have sidewalks, which is concerning. And the opt-out system has created some more problems, what I like to call the Swiss cheese problem, where small opt-out communities block routes between larger communities, and that impacted my route here today. If Sylvan Lake and Kego Harbor and Company were part of the system, I could take a bus up Orchard Lake and be here at Pontiac in half the time it would take me to take a regular SMART route across 3 different buses to get to the courthouse. So for places like Rochester, Novi, Waterford that are urbanizing more and more, have more population, and are going to have more young people like me who are going to want to take transit, instead of having to drive everywhere, that's going to be really nice. Thank you. And even places like Milford and Lake Orion, they have some major destinations people would want to reach by transit. People working at the GM facilities who would want to take a bus to work each day. People who want to visit the downtowns in those wonderful communities who don't want to have to drive 30 minutes to get there or more, depending on where they're coming from in the community. And well, some more rural transit would be nice. It's worked for years with Macomb being all in on SMART and with Smart Flex on the horizon. Little minivans driving people around to places that is likely to be expanded into those areas as well down the line. I support car-free mobility for all, not just students going to school or seniors going to doctor's appointments in Kroger, because I'm 17 years old and I like getting around without a car too. I think the county as a whole will support this, and I think it's right to let the voters decide in November and, exercise some direct democracy here as best we can. So I'd like to thank Commissioner Woodward again. I hope the commission will support this proposal. Have a nice night.
Thank you very much. Next up, Supervisor Rick Hamill, followed by Mr. Zarafa. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the commissioners for putting this on the docket and Mr. Woodward for putting up the resolution. I'm coming at this from a little bit different position. I'm not happy about thinking about my constituents paying 0.95 mils. Right now, our taxpayers pay 0.6 mils for our operations. It's kind of hard to look at a bus program that's going to cost, more money than what they're doing to pay for our operations. So in that light, I look at it and I say, well, we're also paying out of our general fund $185,000 a year in conjunction with Waterford, White Lake. The three of us got together to form WODA. We also have an opt-in community, which is Walled Lake. And basically the concept was, if we've got these buses floating around, this is prior to, this is when SMART dropped all these buses onto the opt-out communities. Let's manage them and make them work for the community. Now the problem is, it's all done, pretty much been done with grant money. So you're out there trying to chase grant money constantly. It's pretty hard to keep that going. Now you heard from my director, our director of the WODA board. She's not happy with that thought process of the millage, but I look at it from a different perspective. I think that the public needs to make the decision whether they want to pay the millage or not. So if the program is developed properly and it makes sense to the communities and the finances make sense to the communities, it would pass. If it doesn't, then you've basically opted out by voting the whole thing down. So I'm not going to say I'm in favor of opting out because I've been working on this program for 8 years and I'm not going to opt out on my bus program and maybe see it fold up and have 3 other communities struggle to keep it moving. We need transportation. Ours is senior and disabled, and it is highly effective. It's door to door. And there were comments made about, it's not the right thing for now. We don't know 100% what the future is going to bring, but if we don't start doing things to create what the future is going to be, we'll never get there. It's going to take a lot more money than $185,000 a year out of each of our general funds and a whole bunch of work from our director to go beg for money to keep this operation going. So I'm in favor of this proposal with a lot of caveats, and the caveats are that, you need to talk to us about this. You need to look from the bottom up. And one of the things that I've learned is that we have this, you've heard, what's the plan? Well, I heard a thing on the radio from the director of the bus program in Ann Arbor. They just passed a millage. So they asked him, do you mind if I go over a little bit? Okay. Anyways, they asked that individual, what's the plan? And the answer was, well, we've got the millage, we've got 18 months to figure it out. What I want to see is, let's look at moving forward. I understand it takes a resolution to say, let's move forward. And I heard the comment earlier from Michael Gingold, it's going to morph. Let us help you make it morph. Let NODA help you make it morph. If you're going to follow SMART's plan And I've supported SMART for a long time. I don't support the way that the money's being spent. But you can look from the bottom up. Don't take the money from the top and say, well, 0.95 mils. Now what are we going to do with it? Look at what costs are and figure out what you really need in numbers. You might find it's only 0.5 mils. So I'm in favor of moving this thing forward. I don't like putting our constituents in a bind, but if they say yes to it, then they said yes to it. It wasn't just Rick Hamill putting it out there as a millage for our local community. This is a broader thing. There are ways to make it work. Let's talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Brother Thomas Zarafa, followed by Sherry Wells.
Brother Thomas Sarafa, resident of Oak Park, member of the Catholic Franciscan Order. I don't want to pay for fire departments because I've never had a fire in my house or on my property. So why should I pay tax to our local fire department? I haven't used it. I don't intend to use it. Makes sense? Probably not. Because I'm pretty glad they're there in case I do need it. Well, the same thing applies to public transportation. Some people may not need it or use it. But if you have an emergency and you need to get somewhere and your car is in the shop, or you are disabled, or you're people like me who cannot drive at night any longer, I don't want to be stuck at home or have to rely on everybody else in the planet to get me where I want to go. And senior services don't work for me because they don't work on Sunday, these senior transit things, and I need to get to church on Sunday. I don't live at a church. I live a mile from the church that I work at. And that's an awfully grueling walk in the winter if it's snow, if there's snow on the ground. It's a grueling walk in August when the heat index is 90 plus degrees. I should like to be able to take the bus to get to work, to get to church, to go somewhere on Sunday instead of staying cooped up at home. I'm fortunate that I have people that can drive me, but that's not always going to be 100% guarantee. So I thank you for at least allowing this ballot to come, before the voters and let people decide. This should not be the whims of people who are against a millage raise. I mean, I know people that own homes too that are glad to pay that extra $100 or $100 a year, to get this service. So some people that are speaking, the money issue, they're not speaking, they can't dare to say that they're speaking for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Sherry Wells.
Sherry Wells. I live in Ferndale. My daughter lives in Novi. When I asked her about transit, she said, hell yes, I want transit out here in Novi. I'm a member of the Green Party, which is not only about the environment, it's also social justice, it's also how people can get to work. But what's appalling to me is when I've wanted to go to events at Oakland University I can't take the bus. I can take the bus there, but if it's an evening event, I can't take the bus home. And when I take my car, there's no parking places up there anymore. I was just appalled to see how filled those parking lots are up there. And one of my favorite ads has 40 cars on page 1 and 1 bus on page 2 in the same route. And this is something that we can't ignore, is just how much we are ruining our own homeland called planet Earth.
Thank you very much. That is everyone who's signed up. So is there anybody else who would like to speak during public comment? I know, well, actually, the woman in front of you first, because she raised her hand first, then you, and then you, sir. Well, you're good.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Megan Owens. I run an organization called Transportation Riders United. I was on the Oakland County Public Transit Authority for about 15 years and have worked in the public transit field for more than that. And I am a resident of Detroit, but I care a lot about this whole region. And this public comment has been really interesting, and I think has brought up reminded me just how diverse this county is and this region is. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about it. And I think there's a lack of understanding of what public transportation can really mean. Yes, sometimes it's the big buses, and there's a lot of people who really enjoy being able to take the fast bus to go down to a ball game and not have to spend $40 on parking, or who are able to use it to commute. And it would be great if we can extend those into new areas. But SMART has been recognizing, and the public transit industry in general has been recognizing, that there's a lot more solutions. Mobility is a lot more than just big buses. Many people may not be familiar with SMART's Flex program. They've only been running it for about a year. It's been a pilot, recognizing that not everybody can or wants to use the large buses. In fact, it's an Uber-type service that people can either call or pull up on their app, and in 15 or 20 minutes can have a ride, pick them up at their door, and take them either to a main bus stop or to their destination. They're still working out all the details, but it's been extremely popular. And the more people find out about it, the more excited they are, especially because a lot of people can't afford the surge pricing or the unpredictability of whether Uber or Lyft may be out there. So I'm excited about the opportunity for Oakland County to really explore what are the right mobility needs? What are the mobility needs of different parts of this county, and how can an investment by the entire county together ensure that everybody across the county has transit options, has ways to get around, whether it's because you're a senior and can no longer safely drive, as many of us will be actually lucky to become, or if your car breaks down and you need to get to work for a couple more days while it's in the shop. So, or even if you never personally use it, but your community needs to have options. So thank you for the opportunity to make this comment, and thank you for putting this forward.
Thank you very much. Sir? Yep. And then gentleman in the yellow, and then you. If you could just state your name and community of residence.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
My name is Joseph Elders. I live in Ferndale. I've been living in Oakland County for about maybe 12 years now. I love the county. Now, the only thing we need better transportation service, and I just want to see this on a ballot because, you know what I'm saying, the other day I did what they call staycation in Novi, right? I couldn't get to Novi on the bus. I had to get off at 12 Mile and Haggerty. And if I ever want to go to South Line, I can't get the bus there right now. I have to take Uber, might not even take me there, right? And, you know, some of these people don't want to never see any people that take the bus that come out there. They're going to have to realize change is coming. And it's going to come very soon, whether they like it or not. Give the citizens of Oakland County a chance to vote on their future. Transportation is a right. Like brother here said, oh, I don't want fire. I fire because I don't have a fire. Transportation is a human right. And you can look at Macomb County. I was out there at 26 Mile Road and that Myers out there. I took the Smart Flex. I had to get to St. Clair County, so I had to take a Uber to get out there. And there's farmland there where people are calling Smart Flex right and left. And they have their own like little community transit stuff. It can work in Oakland County too. You just got to have a valuable plan and implement it. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Doug Fleury, Madison Heights. World Economic Forum Part 2. So this transit talk here, it's so funny because it lines up perfectly with Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, right? Yeah, I'm serious. You guys need to do some research, just like you guys need to do some research, okay? I have the time to do the research. You do too, okay? So there's two things. Either you knew what you were getting into or you don't know what you're getting into. Either way, you have failed your commissions, and you should resign because of it. You are incompetent of your offices, okay? If I can find out this stuff, you certainly can. And you're spending my money and giving it to a bunch of psychopaths that want to clump everybody into mass mega cities and leave all the rural areas with no people in them, okay? These are documented agendas that have been in place for decades, okay? Commissioner Spiz, you work for a Chinese company that bought Takata airbags, right? They stand to make a whole lot of money from Automation Alley contracts. Seems to me you should follow the money, and that's where it ends up every time, and you find the truth every time, okay? Another thing with the World Economic Forum that maybe you guys don't know about, Davos in Switzerland is their annual meeting. This year in March, Stefan Bancel, he is the Moderna CEO, right? We all know about Moderna. During his time on stage, he said to the effect, we had a goal to reduce the world's population by 50% by 2023. He said, I think we're well on our way to achieving that, okay? People talking like that don't just off the cuff riff, right? These are global elites, bankers, businessmen, certainly industry, commissioners, right, heads of state. They all meet together to decide the fate of the world. They're unelected generally, right, and the money is what dictates policy, okay? So I'm calling all of you out. Do better research. This is my life. This is my family's life, my kids, everybody here. You're involved too, okay? You think the World Economic Forum cares about you? You're just stepping stones to taking all the money and all the control. You'll be dead just like the rest of us if you don't stand up for it right now like we are. That's why we're here, okay? We're tired of this. All of you guys, Commissioner Bob, Commissioner Mike, thanks for coming out to Oxford. You thought we beat you up pretty good, right?
Please,
I know, not you,
Bob. Please
Bob.
keep your
I know.
comments directed
Mike
at
did,
me,
though.
sir. Please
you know
keep
what
your
I'm saying?
comments directed at me.
No, I know, but I'm just letting them know
Talk to
too.
them on the side
okay?
afterwards.
So you guys need to start looking into things better. The world is at your fingertips. The internet is our greatest asset, and at once our greatest hindrance, right? But the truth is out there. Do the research.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Another short one. Good evening.
Welcome.
My name is Rebecca Lasecki, and I live in Farmington Hills. And this is, you know, kind of graduation party season. Everybody's going to graduation parties again. We didn't do that for a couple of years. And the other day, I just thought about this experience I had the other day as I was sitting here, and I wanted to kind of tell you about it. I was talking with a young man who just graduated from high school. And he's so excited about going to school and learning a trade. He wants to work with his hands, which we all know is amazing, amazing possibilities and that sort of thing for his life. So about 6 months before graduating from high school, he had a seizure at school. He'd never had one before. Never happened to him before. Well, now he's disabled. He can't drive. He can't get a driver's license because he can't demonstrate that he's gone a certain amount of time seizure-free, and he takes medication and that sort of thing. So this is a guy, he's 18 years old, he's got his whole life ahead of him, but he can't drive to get there. Can't drive to school, can't drive to go out with buddies, he can't drive to work. He'd like to be able to take the bus. He lives in an opt-out community. So he's kind of trapped. And that's the kind of kid you need to kind of think about, right? Somebody who's got a lot of potential, but just can't get there to realize that potential. So just a little food for thought. I want to make sure that I understood when I was reading the resolution that it says that it will levy up to a maximum of 0.95 mils, which means it could be any number lower than that depending on what the commission decides is reasonable to put on the ballot. And then also I saw that the money would be allocated to Oakland County and other organizations. And that makes me think that maybe there would be grant money and that sort of thing that would come from the county that would be dispersed to various communities to support public transportation. So I don't think that it would just be hoarded at the county level. I think that that would be kind of spread around so that these different community transportation organizations would all benefit from it. Hopefully, when this is put on the ballot, if it passes, those buses going down Grand River through Farmington will be a lot more full of people because they'll be able to cross that Novi city line and go into the far reaches of western Oakland County. Because I know I would love to take that bus down Grand River to the mall and kick around the mall a little bit and then take the bus home. So appreciate all the work that you do, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Anybody else that would speak under the second public comment? If you've already spoke once.
Good evening, Tasha Shergan from Clarkston. Commissioner Miller, you look like you're really busy. You must be working on something important.
Please keep your comments directed at me.
So as county commissioners, you're supposed to be good stewards of our money, and that's not happening. It's grant money, taxpayer money. It all comes from us, the citizen. It comes from you guys, too. And I'm tired of spending my money on things that I guess I should ask this question. What is the percentage of people in the community that use the public transportation? I'm not saying public transportation isn't important, but seriously, we've got to find a balance because I'm tired of my taxpayer money going up for all of these grants and programs and all of this stuff. Oakland County is becoming financially not sustainable for people to live in anymore with our taxes that go up like this. Let's see, hang on for 1 second. I am curious too, how did all the pro-transit people know to come tonight and give public comment? Were they given a heads up? Was there something that they were informed of? Because were they invited by somebody? I wasn't aware of it. I'm just here because, as you know, I'm here at almost every commissioner's meeting. But I find it very interesting that Megan and her crew come at very specific times, and it just seems like they've maybe given information that the public isn't. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Tasha. Anybody else who hasn't spoken during public comment? Seeing none, we are going to close public comment, and we will adjourn until August 10th at 4:30 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Drive safe. Enjoy this. Well, has it stopped raining? The rest of the summer day. Thank you very much.